Absolute geezers, welcome to another episode of Football Is, and that is what I want, Tales of a Groundhopper. If you're new or old, do me a favour, have a look on the app if you're listening to this on Spotify and leave us a review on there. You can rate the podcast up to 5 stars, so if you are enjoying it, leave that review, share this with a friend, and let's get this show out there. Now enough of that shameful plug, on with the show. Absolute geezers, welcome to another episode of Football Is, and that is what I want, Tales of a Groundhopper. Really excited for the show tonight. It's Chris White. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm really good, Dan. How are you, mate?
All good, mate. All good. I must say, and I will say to the guys watching / listening, in my lunch break today, I had a quick look at some of your videos, and I must say, my friend, great work. Absolutely love the work that you're doing to promote non-league and also to have a bit of fun with it. Thank you so much, mate. It's brilliant.
No problem. That tenner arrived in the post then.
It did, mate.
Yeah,
it paid for the sign.
Excellent. Yeah, it looks like you didn't use all of it, to be fair.
No, it's brilliant. Chris, for people that obviously don't know who you are, can you give me a bit of a backstory of what you do and how you come about doing it?
Okay, so the reason I'm on here today is I have a little YouTube channel, and it isn't big. It's got about, 650 odd subscribers at the moment. It's called Around the Grounds. It's now going to be called #Around the Grounds. And basically I go to different non-league grounds and I do a virtual walk around the pitch for people who can't get there to actually have a proper look around. Rather than just standing static, I actually walk around and just comment on what I'm seeing, and then I record highlights of the match and stills at the end. And my MO, as I was just talking to Dan about off air, is that I do a little introduction before each video, which lasts about 10 or 15 seconds, which is usually either a rhyme or a song or a play on words or a joke or something to do with the club name, which seems to be popular, or one bloke one day said he liked it anyway. I've even got merchandise, Dan. Look,
love it, mate. Love it.
Hat,
absolutely love it, mate.
No expense spared.
Why can you send me that in the bloody post instead of the tenner? I'll send you the back.
It's the only one I've got, mate.
Spot on. Do you know something, actually, Chris? I've got to be completely honest. The thing I love about your videos the most is, and I'll be putting the link in so people can find your video. You've made me think about when I go to a ground now, because whenever I go to a ground, I sort of find myself a little spot where I can watch the game, record from, and that's it. I'm done. Whereas watching the way you do it of getting round, you go around the entirety of it, don't you? And you have, you tell us a story a bit about of the ground itself, and I think that's so key. And I think anything that can raise awareness for non-league football is incredible. So keep it up, mate. It really.
I mean, it all came about when there was nothing on the TV one night, and me and the missus decided to give YouTube a try. I really liked it, and subscribed to various channels, some of which we still watch now. And I just got thinking when I went to football one day, and I thought I'd really like to do that, but what would I do? And I just wasn't aware of anybody who actually walked around a ground doing a video, and that was my idea. And there are other people who do it. There's a guy called Brooksy in the Midlands. He's brilliant. If you ever get the chance to get him on, very funny man.
Coming on this week, actually.
Is he? Well, give him my regards, because
he's
just a lovely fella. Never met him, but a lovely fella, and we have a lot of banter online and whatever. So he's terrific. And that's how it's come about.
Chris, you touched on something there that you actually sort of got to before I was going to talk about ground hopping and the whole, on social media. You do. There's that sort of that family feel, isn't there? These people that you've never met before, but they're there in your life now because of football, because of non-league football. It's incredible.
That's absolutely true. And, of these subscribers that I have, there tend to be regulars who leave comments. Every now and again you get one out of the blue from somebody you don't know, but there are regulars, and you end up having conversations with them, and I feel that I know them. And I actually went to, if anyone watches my Ringmer video, there was a subscriber there who I actually told him I was going, so I knew that he was from that area, and he ended up running the line that day. So I actually got to meet him, and we had a conversation, and I was teasing him about his fitness and all that kind of thing. But it's just really nice to get to meet these people that you've been talking to online. Yeah, and as you say, it is a bit of a family.
Completely agree with it. Completely agree. Now, with regards to the questions, as always, I sent you across the questions earlier on today, so you could have a bit of a look. I'm really happy with the questions that I've selected with you. A few of them, I'm really excited for the answers. So what we'll do, we'll crack into them and see how we get on. So the first one is for me, and I'm really excited because to have a groundhopper onto ask this is describe groundhopping in 3 words.
Okay, so I've come up with frustrating, exhilarating, and addictive. And to explain somewhat the frustration, it can be the travel, it can be the games called off when you can get there, it can be going hundreds of miles to watch a pile of garbage. It can be turning up and finding that there's really not much to the ground at all. It can just be a bad game with lots of arguing and that kind of thing. The exhilaration is when you have a really good day, when everything comes together, weather, food, game, lovely grounds, everything comes together, and you just walk away thinking this is just the best hobby in the world. Yeah. And the addictive, it must be addictive because I'll go every bloody week, and midweek as well. And I get tetchy if I ever don't go for whatever reason. So they are my 3 words.
I think they're great words as well, especially the addiction side of it. It really is. It's a bug. I say this to people whenever I talk to my friends who don't know, and God knows where they've been living, when they don't know what groundhopping is. And I always say to them, it's a bug. Once you get bit by the bug, you're hooked. You really are hooked. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's people who go to games that, they stand next to you and they say, "Oh, you with whichever team they're not with," and I say, "No, I'm a groundhopper." And they won't go, "Or what?" And the conversation goes on, and I have to explain what a groundhopper is. And these are people who support the same team week in, week out, and they look at you as if you're some kind of alien. That what are you doing going to all these places for? Then I start asking myself, what am I doing going to all these places? And yet I still go the next Saturday.
I completely agree, mate. Oh, and long may it continue as well. Long may it continue. And also, actually, a quick one with regards to the grounds. You never run out of the bloody things, do you? There's thousands of them.
Barely.
Absolutely.
No, thousands. And I haven't done as many as I've met lots of people who've done like over $2,000 and that kind of thing. And I'm on about 680 something or another. So enough. But yeah, there's people who do a lot more than me and will do a lot more than me.
Do you know what? That's a question, I suppose, and I'll pose this to anybody listening. At what point are you considered a groundhopper? I kind of feel like there should be a number you hit where you are now a bona fide groundhopper.
I've never actually met anyone that you point at and say you're a groundhopper and they disagree with you. I think it's self-confession, isn't it?
Yeah,
basically.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. I agree. Okay, with respect to games that you visit now, this one divides a little bit. What do you rather, Friday night under the lights or a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff?
I'm going to go for Saturday 3 p.m. I'm a bit old school. If I'm to be honest, I think I'd rather it was 2 p.m. than 3 p.m. because you don't have to get back late sometimes. But having said that, I think you rarely ever see a bad game under the lights, and I love evening football, and I go Tuesdays usually as a rule, and you do see the odd one that's poor, but most of the time there seem to be the players have more energy, and whether that's just the temperature, I don't know, but you do see good games under the lights. But I'm old school, and I'm going to go Saturday 3 p.m. That's when I've always gone since I was a boy. And yeah.
No, good answer. I think you're right about the energy side of it. I don't know whether if it's because maybe they're at work all day or doing whatever they're doing all day, and they get themselves sort of, really, really, as the day's getting longer and longer, they get themselves really excitable, really sort of up for it. Whereas on a Saturday, I suppose, you get up in the morning, you get to the ground, and then you do your warm up, and that's it. I don't know. It's a weird one. As soon as you said that, you're right. And the games I have seen under the lights, they are high. They're very high energy, and they're very sort of
they seem to be faster.
electric, don't they?
Yeah.
No, it's mad. It's absolutely mad, that one. Good answer. Okay, I love this one. How long? In fact, no, I'll rephrase that. What's the furthest that you've travelled for a game to be called off?
Yeah, so I had to think about this. Do you remember the milk tray advert with a guy like goes over mountains and swims across rivers and abseils and that kind of thing? Well, I went to I didn't go, but I tried to go to Tuffley Rovers once, and I don't know whether you know where they are, but they're in the Gloucester area, a place called Tuffley. It was train into London, tube, train out of Paddington, I think, to Gloucester, walk, bus to Tuffley. It went like an absolute dream, and I got there with loads of time. There was a big sort of retail park, so I went into a McDonald's, had a bit of lunch, that kind of thing. 10-minute walk to the ground, got there, gate locked, and it had been rained off. Was there anything on their Twitter feed or anything like that? Was there? Hell, and it just killed me. I've had a few, to be fair, but that's probably the longest. And the worst thing about that is because I go everywhere by public transport as well, and so I booked early for the cheap train tickets, and I had a set train coming back, and I ended up at Swindon for about 3.5 hours. Trust me, there's nothing to do in Swindon for 3.5 minutes, let alone 3.5 hours.
I love that. I
ended up buying a paperback, I think, from Poundland or something, and went and sat in the waiting room and just read this book. Just nothing else to do.
Did you tweet the club at all? I'd have been tweeting the club. Thanks for the bloody.
There's no point, is there? I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's not going to get you to go back in time and watch the game. So no, I don't know. I don't think, and it was in the days before the like the apps and whatever. Yeah. So I didn't have an alternative that I could find. So yeah.
I'd be absolutely. You took it better than me, mate. Took it better than me.
Yeah, well, but there's been a few. I've been to quite a lot of places, and yeah, could find a match called off. Crowborough is another one that springs to mind. It was an FA Vars match, and I got there on the Saturday, and can't remember, was I covering it for something or another? But I got a free programme anyway when I got there. Got in the grounds, people milling around, literally 10 minutes before kickoff, and the ref called it off 10 minutes before. It passed it. It wasn't even raining. It was the weirdest thing. And then he suddenly decided it wasn't playable. So, everyone was having a right go at him as he walked off. Anyway, he called it off, went home, and then I went back the next week, and they were giving the programmes out again. And this bloke gives it to me, goes, "Weren't you here last week?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "But you're giving away other programmes, so thanks, mate." And so I had two. And they were different programmes as well, was the crazy thing about that.
The ref must have forgot to pack his spikes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we had a call from the missus who wanted him to go shopping or something. I don't know.
Probably about right, mate. That actually, talking about programmes leads into the next question. So, badge, programme, both or neither on your travels there?
My main answer is going to be neither. If I had a choice between the two, it would be badge, because I think at least you can do something with that. And I have got a couple of beanie hats which have got badges around them. In fact, one of the nicest things that ever happened when I was doing these videos is I went to Sileby in Leicestershire and turned up there, and I was sitting at one of their picnic tables just outside. It was a hell of a walk from the station, so I was just having a drink, something to eat, that kind of thing. Bloke came and said, "Oh, you a Groundhopper?" Which happens a lot. So I said, "Yeah, it was." And he invited me into the clubhouse, had a cup of tea and all that kind of thing. And so, thanked him very much. Went in there, had a cup of tea with them. And I said, "If I'm not being rude, but I just want to do a walk around the pitch and film," and told him what I did. And he actually went and got me a club badge and came out and says, "Here, mate, have this," and So yeah, I bigged them up in the video, but you know, really, really nice of them. Programs, I'm going to make myself so unpopular here, but I don't get what all the fuss is about. There's so many groundhoppers that are paper chasing, and I've been to matches where people won't go in if there's no program. Yeah, several times people have gone, found out that the old printer let us down excuse, no programs, and they go elsewhere because they need a program. It's not for me. Occasionally I buy them, usually on long journeys to read on the train coming back, but clubs nowadays, they're going online, and there's a big uproar in the Twitter world and whatever about this, but it makes perfect sense to me, because clubs are struggling with finances and all the rest of it, and you've got to, as a business organization, look at cost cutting, and what that's an area you can do. You can still do the programs, they're online. If people really want a paper copy, then print them out
massively. And actually, you're right there, Chris. Just sorry with that, going to the game that was called off, these clubs who have paid all that money to have them printed together, it is, isn't it? It's a money. It loses money on there.
Yeah, but half the groundhoppers will have just stopped listening to me now anyway.
There's more. Come back.
Strongly they feel about them.
It's funny you say that about clubs being sort of good enough to give you a badge. I remember I hold a very dear place in my heart to a club called Dudley Town. They're a great bunch of lads, and I got to go with them in the FA Vars a couple of years ago. Actually, it was the furthest they've ever been in the competition. And I tweeted them, said, "Oh, I'm going to be coming to watch it. Could I have a chat with the manager, who's a great bloke?" And they said, "Oh, no, we'll do you one better than that. You can be our guest of honour. You come on the team bus with us, and we'll take you there." And brilliant. Awesome. Got the train to Dudley. Met them at this hotel, and I got on the bus. They gave me a program, a badge, I think it was a hat, and they were incredible. They, treated me so. Paid my admission into the ground, even though I paid. No, we won't have it. It was incredible, and that's what I love about non-league. Is it's these things that make you feel so welcomed as a football fan.
And another little story along that line, and I'm ashamed to say I can't remember the name of the club, but it was in the Hellenic League, and it began with a C. Is it Chaddington or something like that? Anyway, I was going there one day, and I tweeted to say I'm going to this club, and off I went. Lovely day, really nice walk down a country lane to this grounds, and I got there with about 45 minutes to spare, and became aware of somebody standing in the car park. Didn't really think anything of it. Headed towards the entrance, and this guy's heading towards me. He says, "Chris," and I'm like looking behind me, because I'm in the middle of no one's going to know me there. And I went, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, I saw your tweet. Just came out to meet you and say hi, and again, come and have a cup of tea," and took me into the clubhouse. And what a lovely thing to do after you travelled all that distance, for somebody to take the time to do that.
It's spot on.
And you didn't need to. Yeah,
it goes the other way as well, Chris. I had this season actually went and watched a team called Ormond play Whitchurch in the Midland Premier Division, and it gets to half time, and Ormond have played awful. They're 2-0 down, and I tweeted saying, need to butt their ideas up, not very good, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I go to the toilet, and as I go to the toilet, I thought, I'll grab a coffee from the coffee machine, get by the coffee machine, and the directors, the club went, "Dan," I went, yeah, "come on in, mate, come and have a cup of coffee." And I'm thinking, oh, Christ, I hope they don't bloody get Twitter out whilst I'm here. So I'm trying to tip this coffee as quick as possible. All right, and amended the tweet, shall we say, but fantastic hospitality. Talking about hospitality, what about food-wise? What's the best food you've ever had at a ground?
Oh, geez. Let's think. What, I tend not to eat at grounds because it's never the greatest. Sometimes you have to. And I went once, I think it was Laverstock and Ford, which are down in the Hampshire area. Again, a really nice day. And I didn't find anything en route. So I thought I'd go and have a look what they had in their tea hut, and sausage and chips, typical football ground foods. So I ordered it, and normally you get these little stringy, watery sausages that dissolve in your
Aldi special
in your hand, exactly, and crap chips that have been cooked in 2-month-old oil, and But no, and these in a little tray, these 2 little plump sausages came out with these freshly cooked chips, and I just sat and purred. It was just the loveliest thing. The other one that springs to mind was Falmouth and in Cornwall, and a Cornish pasty there, which was homemade and was the size of a small planet, was just magnificent. You know, it's the only thing I think I've ever eaten at a football ground. I just wanted to stop and give it a round of applause at the end. It was that good.
Love that. I absolutely love that. In fact, actually, the age-old question I seem to be asking a lot of people on this at the moment is, I don't know, you'll probably go this way, like pie or sausage roll?
Pie.
Got to be on it.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah.
Got to be.
You know, I'm not knocking sausage rolls, love them to bits, but yeah, pie.
Definitely love it. Absolutely love it, mate. Okay, so Chris, I'm on Amazon and I'm looking for a ground hopping kit, right? For ground hoppers who are starting out. You've just made one. What 3 things go into it?
Okay, well, you've got to start with a waterproof bag because the weather will be crap. I don't know what it is, but come 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, the gale force winds, the heavens open, occasional sleet. It's shocking, more often than not. So waterproof bag, be prepared for all sorts. I'm going high tech now, and I think a phone or device with a Footballogy app on, because that is bloody brilliant. Whoever created that, to find fixtures nearby, you know, going back to the Tuffley story that I gave you earlier, if I'd had that, I could have found the nearest alternatives and
1,000,000%.
moved from there. To find out who else has checked in when you're at a game it's just brilliant. You know, and it's got so many other features as well. The third thing is a bottle of Heinz ketchup, because we're talking about food at football grounds. And, you know, some burgers are good, some are crap, some hot dogs are good, some are crap. But you can guarantee it, every ground you go to, the sauce will be shocking. You know, it's all glued to the top, isn't it? It never tastes nice. Take your own ketchup. I'll tell you,
Chris,
you're welcome for that.
Completely agree, mate, because there's nothing worse than when you're in, it's the middle of January, it is bucketing it down, and you're trying to open one of those tomato ketchup things. You're freezing. You've got your burger there, your coffee's there. You're trying to balance it all. Right, mate.
Exactly. And when you finally rip the thing, you're squeezing it too hard, and it goes up in the air, can't it? You know, and there's an old fella standing next to you, and you can just see it coming down on his head, and you know.
And it's normally out of bloody date as well.
No
date on them things. Brilliant. Love that. Absolutely love that. Okay, with regards to on your travels, what's the cheapest ticket that you've ever purchased on your travels with regards to watching it?
Well, I've gone for a gap in the hedge a few times. I go quite low level. So it never costs an awful lot. So going way up, my nephew is a season ticket holder with his dad, who's my brother-in-law, at the new Spurs grounds.
Okay.
And my nephew messaged me just before the pandemic and the year before to ask if I wanted to go, because his dad couldn't go for whatever reason, and he said, "I'm sure you're busy going somewhere on Saturday, but are you interested?" And I can't remember where I was going to go, but I went, "Yeah, okay." And so I went to this futuristic, magnificent stadium where the pint glasses fill up from the bottom to the top. It's just the coolest thing you're ever going to see. It's got a microbrewery in the ground, for goodness sake. And there's not a bad view in there, and it's just brilliant. You know, remembering the old White Hart Lane, as I used to go there every week, and to get the opportunity to go there, and he wouldn't take any money off me. So it's a bit of a cheat of an answer, but go if you can. It's amazing.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You never, what's the saying? You never look a gift horse in the mouth, and you never turn down a ticket to a club that's as high up there as Spurs are in the Premier League.
And actually, son, something you don't know, Dan, is I used to do local radio. So I was a PA announcer, first of all, at Hertford Town.
Oh,
and used to do that. So I used to put together a mixed tape during the week. Used to take bloody hours because it was all cassette tapes at that time. You know, and you used to get the DJ coming in at the end of the song. Oh God, it used to drive me mad. Anyway, I was a PA announcer, and then a local radio station started doing sports, and they contacted the club and said, is there anybody who'd be willing to do match day reports? And because I was a PA announcer and spoke, they came to me. So I ended up doing that for a couple of years, a bit like Soccer Saturday. I was like the Chris Kamara, if you like, on a very lower scale. But on the back of that, I used to get into all the games then on a press pass that I used to go to. So I went to Stevenage loads of times doing that, and other local clubs around the Hertfordshire area.
Mental. That's brilliant. And that's, again, this is why I love doing this show, because stories like that are incredible. And actually, it sounds really silly, but that is my dream job. You know what I mean? Just, you know, the Soccer Saturday around the grounds. I love that. I wish that they'd do something like that for non-league, like properly non-league, but they just don't.
So do I. Yeah, and what makes you watch the game in a completely different way. And suddenly you become neutral because you know you've got to speak about it, and you just find yourself absolutely glued to what's going on rather than checking your phone or going and getting a cup of tea or pop into the loo. You can't in case you miss something, and you just
completely agree with that. I love that. Okay, so on your travels, what would you say the worst decision you've ever seen at a game is?
I found that one really difficult, actually. I mean, a couple of, I've already spoken about the Crowber incident with the ref calling it off, and there's been several games I've gone to which have been called off, and when I've looked at the pitch, you're like, why? You know, there's no water and that kind of thing. So there's that. But what I've gone for in the end is not a specific incident, but I'm going to go for club linesman. So I often go to matches where you get a referee who's been appointed, but there's no linesman. So you get an official from each side running the lines. And the amount of times you see when they are biased, and every time there's a potential slight offside, they give it. If you watch what I think it was my Melbourne video, it's somewhere in Cambridge anyway, and I was actually a clip of the linesman who gives a throw in, and it is so clearly not out of play, and you're like, well, why are you doing that? You're not helping the club or anything like that. I just don't get it, and it happens so often, and it irritates the hell out of me.
It just reminds me of back to my glory days of playing good old Sunday League football, and you'd always have a player. It'd always be the first sub, wouldn't it, as linesman? And I can remember, you know, back then, Chris, I had pace, believe it or not. So I wasn't this larger gentleman. I was quite slight back then. And I remember the ball's come through, and I've broke the offside trap. I've broke it so hard it's in ruins. Gone through, and I've dinked the keeper, and I've wheeled away celebrating, thinking that is a great goal. And I just remember hearing the whistle go, looking and seeing the flag up. And I looked at the ref, and he went, "I need to go speak to the linesman." I said, "Oh, I wonder what he's going to say. What's the point?" So, you know, he just ruined it. It just completely ruined it. Ruins it.
And you got to feel sorry for the ref, because, you know, they got the linesman because they can't give a decision because they're too far away and they can't be everywhere. And just do it properly, you know. Let's all play the game as it's meant to be played and do it properly.
In fact, I've been to a few games where I've seen people, same sort of scenario, and I've seen people for their own team allow a goal, and, you know, their own team are going absolutely ballistic at him. And I'm like, well, no, he's got moral fibre. He's doing the right thing, you know. He's playing it the right way. Okay, so with regards to football, how it is today, if you could change anything about the game, what would it be?
I've got a few. I've got a serious one or two, and I've got a trivial one as well. So I'm going to start with the trivial one. Okay. And I want games to start taking place on time again. Midweek games, 7:45. They kick off at 7:50, 7:55. Afternoon games are now creeping to 3:05. And what it is that for warm-ups, they're not going in until 10 minutes before kick-off, and then they have the chat and get themselves ready in the change room, and then they're coming out and they're starting to run around cones again. Then they have the huddle, and by the time, you know, this has all happened, and from a ground point ground hopping point of view, I'm like, hang on, mate, I've got a train to catch here. Just get the hell on with it. And I would outlaw huddles. They annoy me. They've had the changing room the chance to say all that. You've had all the warm up, and you've had all week to say that. Just get on with the game. So that's the trivial one. The more serious, if you like, genuine. And I said to you off air just before we started that I was listening to the two Queen of the South guys the other day, and they mentioned this simulation. The going down, clutching your face when it is clear that no one's gone within 5 yards of you, and everybody says on the TV coverage, on social media after, it's embarrassing, but nobody is doing anything about it. And I want the FA or the organisations to start clamping down on this and turn around and say, you cheated, you lied, 2-month ban, club get deducted 5 points or whatever, but start clamping down on it and it will end.
Yeah, I agree.
It's, you know, these guys, when they were young and at school, they would have gone out in the playgrounds. They would be desperate to be a professional footballer when they grow up, go through their academy, get there in the big time, and then don't play football, but start acting and throwing themselves to the ground. And, you know, what are you doing?
I completely agree. I think, and as we said on that video about the boy from Aston Villa, it was just, I actually cringed for him because I thought he's gonna watch this back and, well, you'd like to think he's gonna watch it back and think what a twat, but he's not. He's gonna look and think, oh well, didn't get it.
Next time I'll get away with it.
Yeah, we go again. But no, I completely agree. I agree on both points actually, because I've been to so many games myself where you're looking and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, it's 5-3. I'm used to seeing 5-3. They're lining up ready to come onto the pitch to do the handshakes. No. I've seen it so many times, Chris, when they're going in at 5-3, and I'm thinking,
exactly.
Christ Almighty, they're going to have a chat and come back in. So I don't think it's trivial. I think it's a good point. And actually, I think most groundhoppers who, like yourself, and I've had to do it myself, get public transport in the past, think it can ruin the day, especially with the ticket side of it. You alluded to it again before. That some tickets are cheaper than others. You know, off peak, on peak. You know, it changes the day. It does change.
It does. And I was at Hayes and Yetting New Year's Day, I think, and there was a couple of guys in front of me, and it was an early kickoff, and they were going off afterwards to Uxbridge, which is not far away at all. But because of all the faffing around, the late start of the second half, 5-3, 5 minutes before the Uxbridge game was due to start, we were still playing there, and it should have been finished 10 or 15 minutes before. So they ended up leaving before the end of the first game to try and get to the second game, and they would have missed the start of that as well. So as you say, it ruins the day.
I completely agree.
I've got one more as well, if I may.
Of course you can. Yeah, no, of course you can.
That's all right.
Not a problem at all,
and it's going to be dissent. And you know, I think we are going to get in real trouble before too long with losing officials, and we've seen some horrific incidents on social media over the last few weeks. There was an incident with a referee punched very recently, and it's got to stop again. And in non-league, to a certain level, they've got these sin bin cards, which I have this season seen used once so far, and I just don't understand. And I'm not criticising the referees at all, but I don't understand why they're not using it more. As soon as you get the first dissent in a game, sin bin, and hopefully it would then stop it. It's just too much, and we're going to run out of officials, and then people will be moaning at why, you know, they can't get games put on, and it's going to be their own fault.
I agree. And actually, do you know what? I mean, to be fair, the last couple of shows, I've not butchered referees, but I've sort of said in a way that I want there to be accountability with some refereeing decisions. I want the referees to come out and explain why they've given the decisions. But actually, I'm going to flip it now with the dissent side of it. I went to a game earlier on in the season. It was Shawbury against Bridge North, two local sides. And the end of the first half, the goalkeeper picks the ball up. well is a ball down the field. The referee blows, and to be fair, I can see why he was angry. The lad's in on goal; it could have been a goal, but the ref's blown. At the end of the day, that's it. The referee blows the whistle. The Bridgnorth goalkeeper goes absolutely berserk, and when I say berserk, he's screaming and shouting, and I'm stood there thinking, "Christ, you need to calm down here, bud. You're gonna end up doing something you regret." He's gone in at half time, and I could hear him as he goes past, because that's the beauty of a non-league. You're so close to the players, and I can hear him calling the referee all sorts, and you can just see he's riled. 5 minutes into the second half, something's happened. He's kicked out. Bang! Referee's sent him off, and the referee sent him off because he's had a go at him and a go at him and a go at him. And to be fair to the referee, strong enough to make that decision. And I kind of feel like sometimes referees, are almost worried to make that decision because of situations that happened that we saw a couple of weeks ago, where that guy punched the referee. And you're right. I think as much as I butcher them, referees do need help in that scenario. Now, the only thing I will say is, and you touched on it a little bit, I don't see this sin bin card used enough. I've seen it once in 2 years. It's not
exactly.
I don't know why it's not used enough. I honestly don't know why. If they were to do it in the first 5 or 10 minutes with the first one, it sets the tone then.
Exactly. And that's why it was brought in, to try and stop this. So use it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see 11 versus 10, but we have got to stop this constant dissent. I've recently started following a local women's team, actually, and they've asked me to start doing filming for them, which I'm going to do. They play on a Sunday, and it is a joy, Dan. They play with a smile on their face. The standard is good, really good. They're fit and talented. They don't argue, they don't go down and pretend they're injured. It is an absolute breath of fresh air, and I'm finding myself looking forward to going to that almost more than the Saturday games for this very reason. Because you're going to see a good game of football played in a good spirit.
Yeah, it's a shame, because actually sometimes you're quite right there. You can spot them a mile off. A player that's been playing in the lower leagues for years and years and years has just got a bad attitude, and because of that bad attitude brings it in on the team, and teams do suffer. And actually, another thing we completely agree with is women's football. It is getting better. It is on the up. I think the standard of ladies football is definitely it's rising. It is, especially in the last 10 years. It's incredible.
It is. I went to see Chelsea ladies play a month or two back, and it was amazing. Really, really good. I was so surprised, and I'm sounding patronising, and I don't mean to be, but when I last went 10, 15 years ago, and it wasn't all that, and the standard now, even down into non-league, is genuinely surprising. And on that note, if there are any Groundhoppers listening to this who haven't done the county grounds at Letchworth, then Hearts Vipers play there when they're at home, obviously, on a Sunday. So there's no men's team that plays there, so it's a good opportunity to go and tick that ground off, guys, if you want that chance.
Completely agree. Well said. And actually, just before I go on to the final question, I did want to ask you something about that, just touching on that question a little bit more. Do you think it's because the standard of coaching's got better for ladies football now? Because it does seem to have, doesn't it? I think 10, 15 years ago, it was sort of perhaps just one person doing everything themselves, whereas now they seem to have a lot more structure in these clubs, don't they, in the ones that are being run?
I think so. The coaching that I am aware of the club that I'm now involved with is very supportive, and that's good. I think the World Cup the other year, when England did so well, has had a lot to do with it, and you picked up a lot of female interest on the back of that. The fitness is so in, and I think again, because of a pandemic, it was something that you could do, walk, run, and all the rest of it, and it's no longer frowned upon for ladies to be playing football, and there's teams shooting up all over the place. It's gonna get really big.
I agree.
So I don't know, but they are genuinely skillful.
I agree.
Quick,
Completely agree. Final question, like to end it on a positive there. So what has been so far your fondest football in memory on your travels there?
Okay, I'm going back in time, and I'm going to go for the 1985 FA Trophy final. So I grew up in a town called Harrow, and you probably heard of Harrow School, which is the main thing. But Wealdstone Football Club were based in Harrow. Wealdstone is a little area just next to Harrow, and that's where I went after I left Tottenham. I could walk there from home in 10-15 minutes, and started following them, and they were the first non-league team to actually win the double. So effectively the conference national as is now, I think it was called the Alliance Premier at the time, but it's that equivalent. They won the league, and they won the FA Trophy final at Wembley. They played Boston and won 2-1, and it was just the whole day going to the old Wembley Stadium. I've been there a million times. It was not a million times, but it was 3 stops down the tube from where I lived. I used to go dog racing at Wembley Stadium on a Monday night. I went there that often. But anyway, so we got to Wembley, and you have a beer, don't you? And there was way long queues, and I had to queue for half an hour to get a pint. And finally got it, and got up and joined my mates on the terracing about 30 seconds after the game had started, so I hadn't missed anything. A minute later, Wealdstone score. Andy Graham is worldy from 25 yards into the top corner. Everyone leaps up in the air. My mate leaps up next to me. Hands go flying out, knocks a pint straight out of my hand, doesn't it? After half an hour. But it was just a brilliant day, and then we all went back to the pub afterwards, and it was just, you were with your mates, and this is what non-league football's all about. I knew everyone in the crowd pretty much, on first name terms, and it was a shared experience, and it was just the best day, basically. Going for that.
Fantastic memory. And actually, as you just alluded to there, non-league football is about your mates, isn't it? It's a day with your mates, and that's what it's all about. And I mean, a little side question before I let you go. What way do you see non-league football going? Do you see it rising? Do you see more people getting interested in it, or do you think it's sort of hit its peak at the moment and will level out?
Well, the crowds are going crazy at the moment, aren't they? The numbers, and I know that Tony Incenzo did a piece in the non-league paper, didn't he, last Sunday on crowd numbers? And if you look at the figures over the Christmas period, they've been insane.
Good.
I wonder if that's to do with COVID and people not wanting to be in big crowds, and therefore going non-league where there's a couple of hundred and you can find space by yourself if you want it. I think there's a lot to do with that. But then when people go, and I think you said this earlier, you turn up and you're there and you think, actually, this isn't at all bad. And it's the same game, and you get the occasional pass that goes sideways flying out of touch, but on the whole the skill level is really, really good. The fitness is really, really good, and I hope it continues to grow. It certainly is at the minute.
No, I completely agree, and hopefully people can sort of tap into this ground hopping, as you say, the Footballogy app. I see a lot of people have that. Hopefully, this brings that new wave of ground hoppers and non-league football fans. But
I mean, it covers professional football as well, and it's worldwide. It's an amazing app. It's the guys who created that have done a terrific job.
Anointed. I think Anointed.
Yeah, I agree.
You can get it for anything nowadays, so surely. But anyway, that's for another show. Chris,
we're going to get political. Okay.
Christ, the wife will kill me if she starts hearing political. Chris, honestly, mate, thank you so much for coming on. It's I tell you what, that's what's that? 45 minutes of football that's just flown by. I don't know where the time's gone. Yeah. It's been brilliant. I really appreciate you coming on, and as I say, I mean this when I say it. Please keep doing what you do, and it's great. I love watching the footage, and I've subscribed now, so I'm going to be keeping an eye every week there to see where you go. So thank you.
Lovely, and I'm right back at you, and keep doing what you're doing as well, because it's on a different platform, but it's excellent, and it's so good to hear what other people are experiencing and how they go about, and the stories that they've got. It's loads of fun. So you're doing a great job, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. And finally, before I let you go, just one more time for anybody who's listening, can you just give us a bit of information of where we can find you again, please, bud?
Yeah, so on, I've got a Twitter feed which is at YT40 Yankee Tango 40. I've got a YouTube channel which is called Around the Ground, and if you search for Around the Ground, you will find it. And I've done about 170 something full episodes, and there's also loads of other just match highlights from midweek games and that kind of thing. So search it. If you can't find it, as I say, go to my Twitter feed, and within my profile there you'll see a link.
Spot on. Thank you very much, Chris. Well, listen, mate, keep up the good work. And as I say to everyone, make sure you take care and stay safe out there. And to everybody who has taken the time to listen, as always, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, be thinkers, not stinkers. Sayonara, au revoir.